In this video, I'll be showing you how to make a lockable hinge door. So the door behind me right here, if I press this, the door opens. And if I press the handle again, the door closes. But here, if I press this piece represents a lock. If I press it, I can no longer open the door, no matter what I try. Please follow my steps very closely and do exactly as I do. So the first step in making this type of interaction is you have to make the door. So I consider this interaction a somewhat advanced interaction to make because it involves a type of wiring technique known as, well, I call it nesting, which involves two separate pieces, or two separate groups that are wired, and then they're combined together to make one, one big wire, I guess. But yeah, so this part will represent our door. Oh, by the way, you're gonna have to make sure that your door is at least two parts. Consists of two parts, at least. If it consists of more, that's better. So we have to make sure our door is more than two parts, or at least two parts, sorry. So yeah, okay. Now we can make our receivers. So since this is a hinge door, we're gonna have to, we're gonna, it's not that hard to make the receivers. So you want to name this receiver, receiver 1, set transparency to -500. We're gonna make the door go fast, so we're gonna set digit on the right to 0.5, and then we're gonna rotate or copy it and then rotate. Sorry. And then the second one, receiver 2. If you want the door to move more, then you're probably gonna want to rotate it a little bit more like that. All right. So now the next part is making the handle. So when you're making the handle, you also want to make sure that yeah, it's more than two parts, or at least two parts. The handle has to be at least two parts. So we're gonna make our handle like this. So like this. Of course, you guys can make your own handles. You don't have to copy exactly this crappy door, but yeah. So yeah, so this is our handle. It's at least two parts. So what you want to do is make sure you have your door consists of two parts. So this is one part and this is another part, and your handle consists of two parts, at least. Uh, One part and another part. So before we group it all together, we're actually gonna make a lock, and then we have to group that all together too. So what you want to do now is make a part that represents a lock. So let's say this part will represent our lock. And then you want to put the lock on the door. And then like this. Okay. So this part will represent the lock. So when you want to lock your door, you're going to want to interact with this part. So you want to copy it, and then we have to add receivers to this part. So then you want to set this receiver, you're going to name it receiver 1, and then you want to make it go fast. Like you want to quickly lock your door and stuff. And then after that you want to copy, and then make it smaller. I recommend doing this. And then setting it like this. Yeah. And then this will be receiver 2. Now also you want to copy again and then add a third receiver. And this will be receiver 3. So, and then you want to set it to a specific color. And remember, receiver 3 must be the same color as receiver 4 to send the message to it. So what you want to do now is select these, select the locks, receivers, and the lock itself, group it together, wire it, and then now you should be able to interact with it. Right now it doesn't do anything though. So the next step, first, to connect it to the door, you have to select the door, group the door parts together, not the doorknob yet. Okay, now, now you can select that, the lock, the door, and then select the door handle parts one at a time. And then you select these receivers. and then you press Shift G, group it together, wire it, and then now you can move the door, but it also moves the lock with it too. Okay, now the final step is, well, finishing the lock. Now to finish the lock, it is really simple. All you need to do is create a part that will block the handle. As the handle is you have to interact with the handle to open the door. All you need to do is create a part that will block it. So what you're gonna want to do is create a part, make it small enough to cover the entire handle, like this. So yeah, see how it covers the handle completely? Yeah, that's what you want. So what you want to do now is set the part that's covering the handle to 0.99 to its transparency. So you can see through it, but you cannot interact with it. So yeah, and then so we're not gonna do that yet actually. So what we're gonna do is copy that, and then this will be receiver 1. We're adding receivers to this. So we're gonna make it move up though. Like it's gonna move from here to up. And then we're gonna copy, move this up. You can move it to however high you want. You could also make it move down. If your build is at ground level, you should probably want to make it move down into the ground. But in this case, we're gonna make it move up. And now we're gonna set this to receiver 2. Now you want to change the speed to like super fast. Make it super fast. Basically just 0 if you can. As fast as you possibly can. And then you're gonna add a third receiver, but this will be receiver 4. So you want to do this. Now, what you're going to want to do is press Shift plus T, and then you can interact with parts that are grouped. You want to select on the lock, there should be receiver 3, right? This is receiver 3. You want to press V, you want to select it, and then you want to select this part. Oh, I'm sorry, you want to select it, and then you press the paint canvas thing, whatever this thing is called. You press OK, and then you select this part. Your fourth receiver, your receiver 4. And then yeah, so then you can group this together and this, and then you group it together. And then now you also want to set this transparency to something low or high, like this. And then it should be grouped together, right? Yes, okay. Now you wire it. So right now, as you can see, you cannot interact with the handle right now because the invisible block is blocking it. So what that means is you're going to have to interact with this receiver. It will move the block out of the way. It'll move it up because the lock sends a message to this receiver and this tells this block to move up. So now that makes you free to interact with this one. And now you can open the door, and then if you want to lock it, click it again. Boom. You can't do anything. It's locked. But yeah, overall, yeah, it's not that hard. And then if you want to remove these, you just press Shift T, and then you select all these receivers, and then set the transparency to 1, and then turn collision off. And just like that, you should now have a lockable hinge door. Pretty easy.